Good morning, everybody. Today is Monday, November 20th, and our topic for the remainder of the semester in Computer Science 1010 and ES 1060 is macros and Visual Basic in Excel. So if you look at our Moodle page and move down to this week, beginning on November 20th, done a lot of stuff, haven't we? Look at all these weeks. Holy cow, there we go. All right, you'll see that I have posted chapters 14 and 15 on our webpage. And next week on Friday, December 1st, the exercises from those chapters will be due. So basically, the topic of the lecture is learning how to write macros and using them as a platform for Visual Basic in Excel. So what exactly is a macro? And I've put up this definition, which I think is as good as any, that a macro is a set of programming instructions that can be recorded, named, and saved and executed in Visual Basic. So the real beauty of writing a macro is it's a way of doing many, many steps in an automated fashion. So whether it's sorting data or adding columns of data or producing pie charts based on altered data, anything at all, a macro will do that for you. So macro means big, right? So macro just means sort of like a set of instructions. Now, Excel, which has been around since, of all things, 1985. I looked this up. Has really improved and increased in how many things it can do by itself. So in other words, whenever there is a set of instructions that starts becoming more and more common in Excel, Microsoft develops functions that will take care of those. And so in chapters 1 through 6 of our work together on Excel, we have learned a lot about sort of what are the built-in functions in Excel, and we've used a lot of those functions. So back in the old days, back in the 1980s, Excel was basically a tool for sorting data and adding up columns of numbers. And then as time went on, Excel became more and more sophisticated, and the sophistication really had to do with the idea of having more and more data built into it, or more and more functions built into it, so that we could automate those things. So if we go back to something that we did a while ago, and in lab a few weeks ago, we talked about this function that was problem 3.3 in your textbook, and determining how we would come up with these series values, okay? And then looking at where the series converges. This was to approximate the cosine function. So the first thing that we recognize is I cut and pasted the formula here just so that we would have a basis for what we were doing. And then we used just columnar data in order to find each of these terms so that we could plug in a particular number, n, or we could plug in a particular value of x, and then we could solve for the cosine of x based on that value, based on this sort of a table. So we were always looking at alternating numbers, beginning with 2 and then adding 2 all the way down. So we do that with a function, which is just the cell above it plus 2. And then we calculated a number by taking a different value and raising it to that particular power. And that would give us the denominator after we finish that idea. So one of the things I wanted to show you is, if you look at the formula line here, there is a formula for factorial. And that's something that came out of Excel. That was not originally in the original Excel package back in the 1980s, but it was something that factorial, a number multiplied by itself all the way down to 1, was something that kept coming up and that users kept wanting. And so we ended up with those things. So we had basic functions like a divide function, and we had basic functions like multiplying functions. And then we had basic functions like sum functions, SUM, in other words, adding things up. And then we built upon that and came up with more and more sophisticated functions. So Excel itself is constructed of macros. So in other words, whenever anything needed to be automated, Excel, Microsoft programmers built what would have been a macro previously, and built these different complicated and specific functions based upon user need. So actually building functions and building macros is kind of the same thing. So anytime that you have a function that you want to do over and over again, you can build a macro to do it. Now, the relationship between a macro and Visual Basic is they're really one and the same. They're two different ways of accomplishing the same thing. So you build a macro by, first of all, you have to make it a macro enabled spreadsheet, which we did way back in the beginning. So that will be illuminated for you in chapter 14. But the first thing you need to do before you can build a macro is to enable the spreadsheet so that you have that ability to record and save macros. But anytime that you build a macro, you can look at it in the VBA environment. And for example, instead of going back and redoing the whole thing, if you have a macro and you have something in it, you're like, well, really, I don't want to pull on this cell, I want to pull on this other cell. You don't have to go back and rebuild the whole thing. You can come over to the VBA environment and then just make an edit, just like you would in any programming language. So it's very sophisticated, and the two work together very well. So in a lot of macros that I've built for different spreadsheets, I've never even gotten into the VBA environment. If it's something that you're just automating and it works right the first time and everything is the way that you want it to be, just building the macro is sufficient. However, if you need to edit it instead of going back and starting all over again, getting into the VBA environment can be, it can facilitate that very, very well. All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to start looking at chapter 14 and 15. And yes, I have played my cards right here. So you want to get into the developer tab, make sure that's available to you. And then we're going to start talking about recording macros. But the thing that I attempted to do that fortunately I was able to was I rotated all the pages so that they're upright so that we don't have to deal with rotating every single page. Which was a function in Adobe Acrobat, which I had to learn because it's never come up before for me. So anyway, so if you start running through these exercises, this is what we're going to do today in lab. Now, the other thing is, if we look at our schedule, what we'll see is, let me hang on a second. I got to get another page up here. When we look at our schedule, what you will see is that over here, close this down, open this up, there we go. That we have today and today in lab. So we have this period where we can get started, you know how to access everything. And then in lab today at 2 o'clock, we're going to start working with this material. But then because this week is Thanksgiving, we won't have class on Wednesday or Friday. So this is our only day of class this week. Now you do have classes tomorrow, but of course that does not involve us here in Computer Science 1010 or ES 1060. So next week on Monday, we will continue to work through chapters 14 and 15, and then we'll turn in the exercises on December 1st. Now, the interesting thing is after we get done with these exercises, we really only have one full week of class left. And that will be December 4th till December 8th. And then beginning on Monday, December 11th, we have 2 days of classes. And then Wednesday, December 13th through December 15th will be finals exams week. So our final exam in here will be very similar to what we did with the midterm exam, where you will write a VBA program or write a macro to execute something in Excel in a timed fashion. And because we are primarily a face-to-face class, I will expect you to meet with me face-to-face, but you will have several times when you can do that. So we'll have the time that's allocated for our lecture, the time that's allocated for our lab, both of which are 2-hour blocks. And then I'll also post some other times when my other students in other classes will be meeting. So you're welcome to meet at any of those. But I do expect a face-to-face meeting, unless we make a decision mutually between us that you'll meet me by Zoom, but I would hope everybody in this class could meet me face to face for the final. All right, so do you guys have any questions? I figured, okay. So my best students always come and they don't have any questions, so that's all right. So Joey out there is one of my best students. Once again, do you have any questions, or are you cooking with gas, so to speak?
I have actually quite a few questions.
Oh, excellent. Do you want to ask now, or do you want to wait till lab today? Because I'm open. I got time.
I guess I could. They're mostly basic questions.
Okay.
They're for the previous chapter though, because I got really stuck on it.
Okay. Well, we can get started if you want. And then are you going to be available? Are you going to be in lab this afternoon?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we can, but we can get started on that. So tell me what what's some of your questions, and we'll answer some, and then we'll continue if we have more at lab this afternoon.
So basically, I tried to start. Well, I did start on like problem 1 for chapter 6,
Okay.
right? And it asks you to make this table
Yeah.
for like all of the data or whatever.
Yes.
And I tried doing that, but I couldn't find it anywhere. I looked up on Google, YouTube, anywhere, and it couldn't tell me how to do that command.
Okay. So problem number 1.
Here, let me get out the book real quick.
Super.
So it was chapter 6, it was problem number 3. Oh no, it was problem number 2, 6.2. It's where it needs you to make a summary table, and I can't figure that out anywhere.
Okay,
So I kind of stopped on everything else because you need to make those data tables for every other question, it seems.
let's see. Yeah, it's all about data, right? So problem
Yeah.
6, add a summary table of descriptive statistics. Okay, what descriptive statistics means are mode, median, mean, standard deviation. Okay, so what they're asking you to do is to, if you look, can you see the page up on, can you see page 155 up on your screen?
Yes.
Okay, that's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So in other words, these are just the functions, right? So after you have your data, you just construct a table with those values: mean, median, mode, min, max, and standard deviation. So you'll put mean equals, and then you'll have the formula here, then the same, and then put the units down over on the right-hand side.
Yeah, I got that. It's the table that's right next to it on your screen. The one
Right.
where it says diameter, like in italics. All of those, I can't put those into my program for some reason. I can't find that anywhere.
I understand what you're saying. Okay, so you have to find the formulas, and you may not have all of the formulas available to you. What you need to do is either come over here to, if you come to formulas, and then you look at these functions. Okay, do you see the top of the screen with some where I've hit the formula key, and then there's like insert function, auto sum, blah blah blah.
You're still on the PDF.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. So when I take a look at that, all right, so over here. Okay, depending on where you are, you may not have all of the functions available, and you may need to add them in. So if you come over here, when you're on, you're on your home key, let's see, just like here, generally speaking, like you'll start with a ribbon above that looks like this, right?
Okay.
over to formulas, and there's a whole bunch more functions. So it's possible that the functions that you need are not added into your version of Excel. So you need to come over here and you need to see what else is available to you. And what you want to go to is statistical functions. Okay, then you'll have all of those functions available.
Okay, sweet.
So like if you wanted to go to LM min, so there's median, right? There's max, there's min. So that's where those functions are. And often they're already available to you, but just depending on what version, not even version, that's not correct. Just depending on who set up your Excel and what's available to you, they may not be there and you might have to insert them this way.
So it's asking it for like a table. So do I not actually do that? Do I just put them in individually? Each like skewness, kurtosis, range, minimum, maximum?
It's just a table just means the display. So in other words, having to use a table function, you're just putting in those values so that they look like a formatted group of data that belongs together.
Okay, I thought it was like an actual like command that you could do that puts it all in as a table, and it does every single one of the ones that
And
is.
create a table that way, right? Exactly. I understand what you mean. So you can do like an insert table function, but yeah, you have to do that here. So that's just, once again, that's an improvement of Excel, right? So in other words, if you want to put in a table, do you see the table ribbon up at the top? I have like pivot table at the very left-hand side of the ribbon. Hang on. There's a tab at the bottom that says table.
On your screen?
Yeah, let me come up. I'll put it up again. There we go. All right. Do you see up on the upper left?
Yeah, I think I see it.
That's where you can insert a table, right? So
Okay.
you can work with the table function and put in a different kind of a table. You can identify how many rows and columns you want the table to have, and then you just put formulas in the cells of the table. But you don't have to do that. You can construct a table manually, which is basically use borders, use the formulas, and so forth. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, I really thought it was like an actual thing that it wanted me to just punch in the table and it comes out with all those things at once.
Yeah, no, it's definitely just a formula by formula thing, and you can put those in a table using the table function, or you can just create the table manually.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, that really threw me off. So now I can actually continue.
Okay, very good. So yeah, so there you go. So maybe that will get you started.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, I think I had just one more. So in our grade book,
Yeah.
the weights, it might like supposed to be like that, but it just seems really skewed towards like
The final
Excel stuff.
Let me look.
Like it's 36% of our grade is just like chapter 3 and 4.
Oh, okay, hang on just a second. I need to come over here. I can't show you this part. So let me find my grade book and I'm going to get this set up, and then hang on. And then I have to make sure I'm not displaying something that is not okay for me to display here. There we go. All right, so the setup. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and show you how my grade setup is. All right. Now, here's the deal, is that homework altogether is worth 30% of your grade. Can you see that? The weights, 0.3 and so forth?
Where would that be at?
It should just be on, I'm sharing the screen.
Okay, yeah, I see it now.
Okay, this is how I set up my grade book. So basically what happens is the homework is worth 30% of your grade. Your lab exercises are worth 20% of your grade. The midterm exam is worth 25. The final is worth 25. And then this is a mistake right here. Okay, so do you see where it says submit no later than this? This is actually a homework. So all of these homework exercises are going to have to go back under the homework tab.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
because
yeah,
when I didn't get one of them turned in, and I just didn't do one like chapter 2 and 3, it brought my grade to like a 60.
right. That's a terrible thing. I will fix that today.
Okay.
I usually tell my classes, I don't know if I've mentioned this to you guys, but I always take your grades. Okay, so Moodle, which is the LMS that with the learning management system that we're learning, is fine, but it is not, it has some problems. And one of them is the grade book. The grade book is extraordinarily hard. So like even to weight things, I actually did a video for another instructor about how to make weighted grades, because Moodle just wants you to dump everything in and have everything count for the same amount. You know, final exam, one homework assignment, attendance, all the same. And that, of course, is not a valid grading scenario. So, Moodle is notoriously difficult to set up in terms of the grade book. The other problem is I don't see the grade book the way that you see the grade book. So what I see and what you see are two different things. So you saw what I see, and then you see what you see, and it's not the same. So, and I don't have a facility to see your grade book. So even now that I've been using Moodle for a decade, I still pull the grades out of the grade book and put them in an Excel spreadsheet to tabulate them. And then I check at the end of the semester to make sure everything is fine. Now, so, I mean, I'm not saying that that's a great solution, but it's a solution that at least I know everybody is getting their proper grades. So if you ever want to go back to the source, if you're ever not certain, let me find this just a second, about whether or not the grade book is correct. The piece of information that governs your grade in this class is the syllabus. Can you see the syllabus up on your screen?
Yes.
Okay, so you see that for you for ES 1060, you have homework, lab, midterm, finals, and each one of those things is worth 25%. The grade distribution is slightly different for the computer science 1010 folks, but for ES 1060, this is what you're guaranteed. So if you ever had, and I promise you, you're not going to have a discrepancy with your final grade with me, but if you did, or with any other teacher, you can go back to the syllabus, and as long as you have the documents to prove that you've met the criteria on your syllabus, that is the formal agreement. So I never automate, like in other words, my Moodle grades don't dump into my term grades or my midterm grades. Everything that I do is hand calculated.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a wonderful solution. Every year I end up cursing the Moodle grade book a little bit, because when I go to the end of the, like one of the things it does now for you as a diligent student, you're paying attention, you're going, wow, this one grade pulled me down too much. And we're identifying an issue right now, and I'll fix that today. Other students have a false sense of security, because unless I put a 0 in for a grade, it doesn't figure the grade in at all. So like if you have 12 homework assignments due and you've only turned in 3, but you made 100 on them, Moodle will tell you that you have 100% on your homework, which is patently untrue. So so these are some of the things. But I would recommend to you to keep a Moodle spreadsheet yourself, and keep your homeworks in there, and your midterm and your final and your lab assignments, and I think you'll be a lot happier. So
Yeah, I've heard from many teachers that Moodle has issues with the grade system.
we talk about this frequently.
Yeah.
It's not an unknown topic, but you know, the thing about, there's different LMSs. I don't know if you've used anything else, but there's like Canvas and Blackboard, and there's a billion different systems. And Moodle is fantastic in its flexibility in terms of like how I can post things and how I can hide things and show things, and what I can do like with quizzes. I mean, it has some really good features. Gradebook is not one of them. So there we go. And I've actually, in some of my classes, it's gotten so bad, I've actually turned the grade book off so you can't see it at all. So it's like, you're just gonna have to ask me if you need to know what your grades are. So, but there is, I have not put some of the items in their proper category, which I will do today. And then it'll be better than it was before.
Okay, that sounds
I also
good.
guarantee you that if you're doing poorly, I'll let you know. I mean, you and I are talking and I know where you are with your stuff and you're fine. But I will let you know, it will not come as, anybody who fails or gets a D in this class, it will not come as a surprise to them. How's that sound?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, it was just, I think chapter 2, 3, 4, and then like 5 that I noticed the way it was. So just a heads up, it's all of the Excel ones, but the
Yeah.
rest all seems perfectly fine.
Yeah, when I looked at the grade book, I saw what happened was as I didn't dump them into the folders, I just left them at the top level. So I'll take care of that today.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anything else for now?
No, that should be all. Thank you.
All right, great. All right, then I will turn off the recording. And if you just can't wait to get started with chapter 14, please go ahead. Otherwise, I will see you in lab this afternoon and we'll get going at that time. You guys have a great day today.